welcome back to week 2 of our series, It's Personal. In case it's your first time, I'm Nick. Today we're playing It's a Numbers Thing. Let's see how many numbers you know. Ready? Here we go.
All right, come on, Journey Youth. We're gonna have some fun today worshiping our God. This song is called Walk on Water. If you know it, sing it along. I'd rather slip walking on water than spend my life wondering what if. Lord, if it's you, tell me to come, 'cause you alone can tame the wildest wind. I know I can make it, 'cause it was your voice that I heard. So I'm stepping out on your word. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. Hey, come on. I got a faith deeper than feelings, 'cause I know a name that's greater than the storm. I've got a God who never ever fails me. He's close enough to catch me if I fall. I know I can make it, 'cause it was your voice that I heard. So I'm stepping out on your word. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. Sing it again. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. Hey, I'm stepping out on your word. I'm stepping out on your word. I'm stepping out on your word. I'm stepping out, sing it out with me and say it. I'm stepping out on your word. 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 Lift right now, walk it out. I said lift right now, walk it out. Hey, lift right now, walk it out. Hey, left, right. This is how you walk. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, one foot in front of the other. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. This is how you walk on water, one foot in front of the other. Never gonna let you go under, just put one foot in front of the other. Hey, yeah.
Motherhood plays an important role in the Bible. It binds the beginning and the end. These stories offer us a glimpse into the heart of God, and so we start at the beginning. Taken from the side of Adam, gifted with bringing forth life, the first woman was named Eve because she was the mother of all living. But she was also a mother in her own right, the first of many mothers to come. Though Sarah's womb was closed, God promised nations and kings would come from her. 10 years pass, and motherhood seems as impossible as the day it was promised. But the Lord is faithful to keep his promises, and Sarah bore a son who made her laugh. Leah was the firstborn, overlooked by her husband Jacob, who gave his heart to her younger sister. When the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb. Despite Jacob's disdain, she found her motherhood in the Lord. When Pharaoh became angry at the fruitfulness of the Hebrews, Jochebed sacrificed her motherhood for the sake of her son. When Pharaoh's daughter saw the child, she had compassion on him. Because of Jochebed's sacrificial motherhood, the Israelites found freedom. Naomi was a mother who experienced the loss of her sons, yet she gained a daughter in Ruth who declared, "For where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God, my God." Naomi and Ruth became family by faith. Mary, a virgin and not yet married, was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. The motherhood of this blessed woman was more than the continuation of a family name, but a means for God to bring a Savior into the world to save His people from their sins. From the garden to the cross, there have always been mothers. These women paved the way for all women, representing the full spectrum of the ways one could be called mom. Whether a mother in faith, mentorship, adoption, or by birth, you play an important role in the stories of generations to come. To all the Sarahs, Leahs, Jochebeds, and Naomis, Happy Mother's Day.
Hi, my name is Beatrice and I'm a junior. And this is where I live. If you'd look where I live, you'd think my life is pretty much like yours. But if you really knew me, you know there's more to the story. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Brazil, and that means that life in my house can be crazy and chaotic and a little bit unconventional. And for example, we speak Portuguese at my house, so it's not always super easy for my parents to figure out school stuff when it's in a different language. And you know, sometimes at parties and stuff, I feel a little bit out of place and like I don't fit in, and even a little bit marginalized. But one thing I've learned from being in an immigrant family is to just embrace my identity, even if it's not like everyone else's, and to be confident in exactly who God made me to be. Hey, I get it, every family has a story, but you can't really know me until you know what it's like where I live. This isn't just my home, it's part of my story, and it's personal.
So growing up, there's this kid I knew named Graham. Graham's super shy. I knew him from church, but freshman year, he started coming to my school. And Graham was the kid that everybody knew and everybody loved. He'd come into the room, wouldn't really say much, but Graham, how you doing, man? Graham was just that guy, you know what I mean? So freshman year, I'm having a conversation with him. Graham, what's up, man? What's going on? What you been up to? He's like, well, actually, I've been playing soccer. And me, being the super arrogant athlete I was like, oh, that's cool, that's cute. You play soccer, that's so awesome, man. And I was running cross country at the time, so I was kind of a dumb athlete too. We don't need to talk about that. But I'm just thinking, okay, cool, Graham likes to play soccer. 2 years later, junior year, I go to one of the soccer games. Graham is the most OP, phenomenal player I've maybe ever seen in my life. I mean, this kid, he was making passes that shouldn't have ever been able to sneak through a defense. He had this strong build that could body anyone to get the ball. He was hitting goals from, I don't even know how far out. It was incredible. Senior year, I actually got to play with him. I would sometimes lose track of what I was doing in the game because I'm just standing there like, Graham, the dude was insane. He actually even got selected all-state. And I remember thinking to myself, how is that? How is all of this even real? Like, I'd known this guy for half my life. And in that moment, I felt I didn't know him at all. And what he really cared about and liked and what he spent his time with. Because here's the thing, you can know somebody and not really know them. And the same thing's true for you. You can hang out with people and still not have a ton of people who know the real you or get you. For example, have you ever dealt with something or felt something and you simply decided to keep it to yourself because You didn't think other people would understand, or you did share it and you felt like the people you talked to were just kind of like drawing a blank. For most of us, our friends are probably the people who get us the most. And some of you may say that you have a total bestie who just gets you. And that's awesome, but it's probably not a lot more people than that, is it? Here's a stat that I kind of made up, but I think it's kind of true. The majority of people don't feel like there's anyone who gets us 100%. A lot of times we share parts of our lives with different people, the parts of our life that we feel like they'll get. We have friends that we go deep with, but some friends we only laugh and have fun with because they wouldn't get all that deep stuff. We have people that we hang out with, but we don't talk about sports. It seems like they have no interest in sports, so they wouldn't really get it. We have people in our small group that we can talk about faith with, but we don't talk about our faith with certain people at school. And guys, this is totally normal, but sometimes it would be nice if more people just understood us, all our quirks, our interests, struggles, and fears. But instead, most of the time we feel like nobody gets us. And you know who else feels that way? Literally everybody, like almost everybody. The truth is that nobody gets me or nobody knows the real me feeling. That's not easy. It's one of the reasons this idea of personal matters so much, because whether you knew this or not, you're actually wired to be known. You were made to have somebody who gets you, who understands you, and knows what your real world is like. And this, my friends, brings us back to a guy named Zacchaeus. Last week, we started talking about this encounter Jesus had with a man named Zacchaeus. In the section of the Bible called the New Testament, there are eyewitness accounts from people who knew Jesus personally. Those are called the Gospels. There are 4 of them, and they all come from different perspectives. They didn't all share the same story. Sometimes they were writing to different people, which affected which details they included. Like, here's what I mean. The Gospel of Luke is the only gospel that tells the story of Zacchaeus, and there's a reason for that. Luke was writing to a mostly not Jewish audience. The first followers of Jesus were Jewish, so they kind of figured that everyone who followed Jesus would have been Jewish, but that's not the way Jesus operated. He was for anyone from any background. So it was natural for the not Jewish people to feel like they didn't quite fit in. So in Luke's gospel, there are a lot of stories about people who didn't feel like they fit in. It's easy to imagine that these are the people Luke wrote about because these are the people Luke wrote to. He wanted his readers to see how Jesus treated people just like them. So Luke shares the story of Zacchaeus, who, like we learned last week, was on the outside of the group. He was a Jewish tax collector, which was a super bad thing to be. The short version, he was a sellout and a traitor. But then Jesus comes to town, and everyone is dying to see him. By this point, Jesus was way famous, and people wanted to know, is he like the rumors say he is? I mean, like, time out. Is this guy really healing people and performing miracles? Is he really challenging the powers in charge? Everyone wanted to see what Jesus was like, and Zacchaeus, the dude was no different. So he shows up. To get a better view of Jesus, Zacchaeus climbs a tree. He was kind of short, so getting a higher view helped. But also, I imagine Zacchaeus wasn't sure how Jesus would feel about a guy like him, a guy who collected taxes for the Romans and probably a little extra to keep for himself. Jesus looked out for the poor and mistreated people, and nobody was better at mistreating them or making them poor than Zacchaeus. So I imagine he wasn't looking to stand out. But then the craziest thing happens. Jesus looks up, sees him, calls out to him, and then invites himself over to Zacchaeus' house for dinner. Luke tells it this way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." Now we may hear that and think, okay, talking about Jesus, that's a little bold. Cook me dinner, I'm coming over with no warning. But in the context of this culture, it was an honor to host someone for dinner. Having someone in your home sent a message of friendship. So Zacchaeus wasn't sitting in the tree thinking Jesus was rude for inviting himself over. He was most likely sitting in a tree thinking, yo, I can't believe Jesus would want to have dinner with me like at all. And he announced it loud enough for everyone in the crowd to hear. In fact, Luke writes, so he, Zacchaeus, came down at once and welcomed him, Jesus, gladly. So why did Jesus invite himself over? Because Jesus cared about what Zacchaeus cared about. And even though it didn't seem like it on the outside, Zacchaeus cared about belonging, being accepted, being seen, and being known. How do I know that? Because he was a human, and we literally all want that. And we want it more when we feel like we don't belong anywhere. Zacchaeus lived his life as an outsider. As a Jewish man, he didn't fit in with the Romans, even though he worked for them. And he didn't fit in with his Jewish neighbors because he taxed them on behalf of the Roman government. See, Zacchaeus wasn't just climbing a tree to see Jesus. He was climbing a tree to see if he mattered to Jesus and to see if Jesus knew what mattered to him. And don't miss this, it surprises everyone. Like, people didn't expect a friendship to form between Jesus and the local outcast. They liked Jesus and they wanted to be around him, and they didn't want to be around Zacchaeus. In fact, they all probably thought that they already knew everything they needed to know about Zacchaeus. As a tax collector, they knew exactly what he was like, and they didn't want to be associated with him, but not Jesus. Jesus knew that just because Zacchaeus had the label of tax collector, it didn't tell the whole story about who he was. It turns out Jesus knew Zacchaeus better than anyone around him did. Jesus understood Zacchaeus was just a person who wanted to belong, and Jesus went over to his place to show him that he did. If you've ever wondered what Jesus thinks about you, the story of Zacchaeus should be an encouragement. But maybe you've always felt like there were certain things that mattered to Jesus. For example, you thought Jesus cared about your Bible reading, but not your grades. Praying, but not your friendships. Holy stuff, not like real life stuff. Your potty mouth, but not your anxiety. Your obedience, but not your relationship with your dad. Your sexual purity, but not your dating relationships. Today, I want you to know that the things that matter to you matter to him. The things that interest you interest him. He doesn't just know that you love basketball or K-pop or theater, but he gets why. He gets you personally. Think of it this way. It's personal because Jesus knows what matters to you. I don't know about you, but that was not the image of Jesus I grew up with. That's not what I thought he was like. The personal Jesus surprised Zacchaeus and definitely shocked the people around Zacchaeus. And chances are, there are a lot of people around you every day who would never guess that Jesus is so interested in them personally. That's why this week, I want to challenge you to try both of these ideas. First, talk to Jesus about what matters to you. Jesus cares about what you care about. So start there. Pray about it. Share it with him. Let him know about the things that you like. Let him know about the things you worry about. Tell him the things that bring you life and tell him the things that drain you. Jesus is never bored hearing from you and about you because it's personal to him. Second, talk to others about what interests them. When it came to Zacchaeus, it wasn't personal for the crowd he was in. They made assumptions about Zacchaeus, but they didn't really know him or get him. Jesus was the only one who knew that what really mattered to Zacchaeus was a sense of belonging. It's possible there are people you've made assumptions about too, people who you think are one way because of what you believed about them, but you've never made it personal. Maybe this week you can make it personal by being intentional and discovering the things others like. Let go of the ideas you've had about them and do for someone what Jesus did for Zacchaeus. In his letter to the church in Philippi, the Apostle Paul writes about this very idea. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Look out for the interests of others, which might mean you ask your friends questions and listen to their answers. You play something that your little brother loves to play. You go watch your friend play their sport, even if you have no clue what's going on. You make an effort to include that kid who's a grade younger than you. You get to know who someone is. From there, Paul goes on to talk about the character of Jesus and what Jesus was like. Paul said, make Jesus the model, because that's exactly what Jesus was like. He was selfless. He looked out for the interests of others, and we should do the same thing. This is what makes us stand out as people who follow him. Everybody needs somebody who knows their name and knows them personally. But I want you to think about something this week. Do you know what matters to the people around you? Like, really know? Have you taken the time to be personal enough to try and get them? When we take the time to make it personal with others, we're living like Jesus. Jesus was never satisfied by making a judgment about a person from far away. He got close. He took time, and he never let a label or an assumption inform his opinion. He cared about what mattered to others because they mattered to him. It's personal because Jesus knows what matters to you. Now you have the chance to go and do the same for others, to make it personal.
Journey Youth, the love of God is unending. It's undescribable, it's uncontainable. The crazy thing is that it's chasing after you, no matter what you've done, no matter who you think you are. If you think you're not good enough or not pretty enough, he's chasing after you. Come on, let's sing this beautiful song. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. When I was your foe, when I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I feel no worth, you paid it all for me. Oh, you have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
for joining Journey Youth Online. If you have any questions, need support, or want to start a personal relationship with Christ, you can email us at youth@discoverdestiny.org or text 817-587-4408. See you next week.